Drama City Productions presents.
What's up, party people? You are listening to Conversations with Paycheck and Red,
an inappropriate comedy podcast.
Have you ever taken a photo of your own butthole?
Do you enjoy the smell of hot dog water?
Do you have random conversations about dildos?
Well, this is the podcast for you.
Just two good old boys having no-holds-barred conversations.
All while laughing inappropriately.
Oh, hell. Paycheck and Red have gotten themselves into another inappropriate conversation. Let's listen and see how they get out of this one.
3, 2, 1. Red, you didn't even compliment me on my beard trim, on my mustache trim.
Looks good, I guess.
You disappointed in me?
A little bit.
I'm depressed, man. I'm going through a small bout of depression. Whoa, wait a minute. Was that a shot?
Yeah.
Are we taking shots tonight? Is it shot night?
I'm doing shots.
Red, what are you doing over there, Red?
I'm drinking coffee out of a bottle, and
Okay.
I've got LaCroix.
Why would you do that to yourself?
It's okay. I'm pretty sure that's
I've got a beer, so
There you go. Okay.
it all balances out.
okay. So, real quick, what about extracurricular activities? Is that a no-go on this one, or
I've already went through that. Yeah, we're good.
Could not care less, do you?
okay? Medicinal reasons, of course.
I'm in Massachusetts. It's all legal.
Yeah,
For
okay.
Paycheck got cataracts.
Yeah, you see what's going on here? All right, y'all ready? Y'all want to go ahead and start this?
Yeah,
Maybe
let's
even.
go.
All right, in 3, 2, wait. No more introduction. This is all fairly new. We started a whole new format, so I just like to make sure that we're all on the same page. No more introduction. We're just right into it, right?
Right, yeah. Yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1. What's up, y'all? Here we are. We got Red here. We have a special guest with us today. Red, you want to introduce our special guest?
Sure. This is Miss Kate from the Ignorance Was Bliss podcast. Hello, Kate. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How you doing?
Hello, Kate. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Sure. Thank you.
So real quick before we get too far into this, tell us a little bit about Ignorance Was Bliss.
Okay. I am a forensic psychologist and crisis clinician. And so my job is to make the fucked up sound understandable. Right. And so that's kind of my whole show, is talking about whether it's serial killers or college professors or sometimes both at the same time, and to make them sound understandable, if not normal.
Right. You are by far probably the smartest guest we've ever had on the show.
Well, I'm drinking, so I should be able to fix that soon.
So what was I heard the forensic. What was the other one?
Forensic psychologist and crisis clinician. So if you have suicidal thoughts, homicidal, or a psychotic break, and you end up in the emergency room, I'm the one who decides if you get to go home or if you have to go into a psych hospital or prison.
So what kind of time frame are we looking at here that it would take you to come to that conclusion, whether they can go home or not?
5-10 minutes.
So you can tell if somebody is, I guess, emotionally able to be released in that sort of time period?
Well, I'm going to talk to you for an hour, and so that can change. But usually within the first couple of minutes, if you're able to sort of talk to me and spell your own name and explain why you got where you are, that gives me a lot of information about whether you need to be locked away somewhere or whether we can help you out from home.
I'm a little worried now. I mean, you're not going to be judging me over there, are you?
All right, well, that wraps up another episode of
Don't give me your home address and we're good. It's not me that called the cops. Let me just make that clear right now.
So when you said forensic psychologist?
Yep.
So tell the listeners what exactly does that mean?
So a crisis clinician decides whether you go into the hospital in the first place. A forensic psychologist is after you've already been locked up, either in a hospital or in a prison. And you need somebody to figure out what's your diagnosis? Are you competent to stand trial? Should we all just lock you in a rubber room and back away? Like, those are sort of the things that I would figure out.
All right, real quick. If you can talk about it, I don't know if that's patient-doctor confidentiality kind of shit, but what's the craziest thing you've ever come across as far as like prisoner or anything like that? Have you interviewed any serial killers or anything?
Yep.
Really?
I have.
Oh. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I mean, okay, the guy from there's a podcast called Bear Brook, okay, about a serial killer. Mm-hmm. I might have met him. Possibly, maybe.
Does your job affect your personal life, mentally, emotionally?
Well, of course. I would routinely make my husband sleep on the couch and, look at my kids like, oh, fuck, make another one.
Wow.
So, what kind of degrees are necessary for the type of job that you do?
A doctorate in clinical psychology.
So you have a doctorate?
Mm-hmm.
I had a conversation the other day about college and education and the importance of it. And it seems that the importance of it has changed over the years.
I mean, it depends on what you want to do. There are still, like, if you want to work in the state system, like with prisons and locked psychiatric hospitals, you still have to get the degrees they say you have to get.
Well, what led you to that career path?
So I started off at an engineering college and I hated it, but I'm pretty good with numbers and computers and shit. And I got sick. And when I was sick, I was in the hospital for a kidney infection, and somebody brought me, there's the book Mindhunter that the Netflix series is based on.
Yeah.
Somebody brought me that. This is in like 1996 or so. And I read that and I realized, like, wow, people like their jobs. And so that's what I got into. And I dropped everything, dropped all of my engineering classes and picked up all psych classes. And that's what I graduated with. I went on and got my master's first in criminal justice and mental health counseling. And then I went on to study clinical psych.
And do you like your job?
I am on disability now, and I hate that very, very much. I would love to go back to work. I miss it terribly. I loved my job.
Well, coming from a blue-collar construction background, didn't pay attention in school, never really liked school. Your job and your career path is intriguing to me.
It was, I mean, the upside of going to school is that I had more choices. That's all.
Yeah, imagine degrees open up doors.
Well, I mean, everything that I ever, like, I spent a lot of time sitting down with people after I decided I don't want to do computer shit. Like, I sat down with people like, what should I study? And everybody told me, go as broad as you can. So, like, don't get a degree in forensic anything. Get a degree in just plain old psychology, because then it's more flexible, And, like, I really wanted to go into the FBI. That was my first thing. And so they were like, study psychology and study criminal justice. And so that's what I did. And it gives then I backed out. I decided I don't want to keep a gun in my home, and I don't want to travel 48 weeks out of the year, which is what you have to do to be in the behavioral science unit. And so by keeping the really broad schooling, I got to do really what I wanted for a long time.
Okay, so let's test all the information that you've accumulated throughout the years. Let's do that by our topic for this episode is what, Red?
Stereotypes. What makes us wear the clothes we wear? What makes us drive the cars we drive? What makes us act the way we act?
Right. Okay. So let me give you just a quick little backstory on me, Kate. So when we talk about stereotypes, it's hard for me to understand that word and everything that comes along with it because I'm a military brat and I traveled the world. So I experienced most of my adolescent experiences all the way into my teenage years in foreign countries. So when I come back to the States and I hear the word stereotype and stereotypical this and stereotypical that. So my earliest recollection of stereotyping was long time ago. I was that guy who lived the street mentality, been through the Department of Corrections. You know, I went down the wrong path early in life. But because I hung out with who I hung out with, and because of the clothes that I wore, it was said to me many times, "Why are you dressing like you're black?" Or we can flip that. I know several black guys. I call them black guys. I know some prefer African American. All my black friends say we're black guys. So that's what I call them. I know a lot of them who, because they are educated and because they're articulate, they're stereotyped and labeled. Of course, we all know. I don't want to say them, but you know what they're called. So why is that? How does that happen? At what point does somebody say, "Okay, you're a white guy, so you are put in this corner in this box, and we're going to label this box Christian, conservative, Republican, based only on the color of my skin, or Red, for example. So he played in a band. So Red, I imagine that there are a plethora of stereotypes of a guy who plays an instrument that he loves and pretty much gave his whole life, because I'm sure you've been playing since you were a little kid. So they take something beautiful and they put a fucking label or a stereotype on it, right? Did you experience any of that?
Yeah, they take a love of music and a passion for playing an instrument into sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I'm not going to say that I didn't partake in any of that, but it's just...
You are the stereotypical musician, ain't you?
Well, I mean, kind of, but not really. I mean, I done it for the love of it, but I got sucked into it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that was the thing to do, like we're talking about. That was because I am that, I have to do these things.
Okay,
just,
so Kate,
just to fit in.
Right, to fit in, absolutely. So Kate, we talk about stereotypes or labels, put in a box. Have you ever been stereotyped? Have you ever been put in a box and labeled?
Jesus Christ. I mean, daily. I went to an engineering college for undergraduate, so it was 6-1 male to female. So I was either there to fuck my way into a good family, or I didn't actually have genitals. Like, I was just this sexless engineering type. And I was not allowed to be outside of that box. And then to switch to psychology, and everybody was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And now I have 4 kids, which is way too many. But so I have 4 kids, but I have tattoos. I have purple and blue hair. I swear like a sailor. I have my own life. And frankly, my kids piss me off more often than they don't, right? So I'm supposed to be this mommy now. And I'm like, look, I've sat with sociopaths. I look at my kids like, you're going to end up in a padded room somewhere. And I mean it, looking at them sometimes like, Jesus Christ. So it's like this, everything is all about the stereotype, and it's because people are lazy. People don't want to think.
That's a great point. So
it's just easier to say oh, this is who you are. I can just put you in a box and not think about you anymore, and that's good enough.
And you're being taught this and programmed like this from birth, in a sense, because your parents start that. They tell you that, okay, we're Christians, or we're Republicans, or we're white. At some point, somebody tells you that you're a white woman. You're
a girl. You're a girl. Dress like a girl. Act like a girl. Smile more. If you guys walk through a grocery store and you're just listening to music on your headphones and you're just looking at the fucking canned peas, right? people just let you shop. If I do it and I have my headphones in and I'm just looking at like, I don't know what to buy, somebody will say, you should smile. Are you mad? And I'll be like, fucking am now. You know, but because women are supposed to smile and look happy. And I'm like, you know what? Not happy with you anymore. So it's this very, like, it's a feedback loop. Like, you buy into it because you're told you're supposed to do it. And then you're supposed to do it because you buy into it, you know, and it kind of wraps around itself.
Right. I just don't know at what point and how old do you become to where you make the decision on where to go and what to be and who to talk to and who to associate with?
I think that depends on your parents. I think it depends heavily on your parents because, I mean, and within like the first year or two of your life. Because if you've got a little, you know, a toddler, you know, and it's a little boy and you only give him cars, or it's a little girl and you only give her dolls, then they buy into like, this is the only things I'm supposed to like. Right. And so my youngest is adopted. She's 6 now. And she still really, really struggles to play with cars. Like, that bothers her. She feels like that's not what girls are supposed to do.
Huh.
Kids start to buy into stereotypes as soon as they're old enough to hear it. To hear that little girls are cute, little boys are tough, that little girls should have their ears pierced, little boys should wear hats or whatever the fuck. And that at what age do you buy out of that? Well, I mean, my grandfather died about 1.5 years ago, and I don't think he ever bought out of it. Like, I think he stayed stereotyped his whole life. So you only buy out of it if something makes you uncomfortable enough to think.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I try not to follow the herd, as they say. I try to create my own path.
Or you move out of your comfort zone. Right. Or if you move, like I think that a lot of people are subjected to what they're subjected to because they've never left that poor town that they've lived in.
That's quite possible. I mean, sometimes we think because
y'all can't hear me?
I can hear
Yes.
you. I'm good. And sometimes we think because we are built that way, we are programmed to be thinkers, and we try to break out in one way or another. That's less common. More common is, there he goes, he's gone, it's fine, is that somebody makes you think. Because you move, because you spend time in the correctional system, because you go to a school that you're not familiar with, because you have kids and they change fucking everything. Like, there are a lot of things that make you think that you never would have thought about before, you know. And so sometimes we break out of stereotypes because we want to, and sometimes because we have to.
Now, have to, you mean to go with society, to go with the flow, or?
Yeah. Because nobody really likes to stand out. Like, we like to stand out if we're on stage, but even then, you're on stage as a performer, and performers follow certain rules, right? They have certain behaviors. So you got into the sex, drug, and rock and roll thing because that's what performers do, and it's expected of you, so you fall into that role, right? And so it becomes kind of this feedback loop. You know, I do this thing because it's what's expected, and then it's what's expected because I do the thing, and it wraps around to itself. But most of us, we just want to go along. Like, drama is a pain in the ass. Like, I don't want to call attention to myself. I don't want to have other kids looking at me. I don't want to have people asking me a lot of questions. I just want to get through my day. And so you learn how to be a chameleon pretty quick if you have to. And there's some people who can't.
In my particular instance with the whole band scenario that we were talking about earlier, I fell into that stereotype, but at some point it just clicked that this is not, you know, it was a life choice in a sense. Like, this is not the path I want to go down. So I'm going to portray myself as a musician, as somebody who loves the music for what it is and enjoys playing, not up there. I mean, I had a good time while I was playing, but I'm not up there, you know, for the glory of it. I'm there because I love playing, you know, and then the whole entire scenario changed, and then I kind of created my own path because I felt like it was the right thing to do.
Well, and I think that takes a moment of stepping back and evaluating.
Right.
You know, that, like, I have had several times in my life where I'm like, so, okay, I had my first baby when I was 22, and I'm 41 now, and I still believe that the most feminist thing I ever did in my life was take a year off to stay home with that baby, right? Which doesn't sound like a real feminist decision, but I had a lot of pressure to follow that path, to stay in school and to continue the work that I was doing, because by then I was in grad school, and to,
Kate.
Yep.
Pressure from who?
Family, from other classmates around me, from my professors, from people I was interviewing with, like everybody pretty much, except for like my husband, was like, no, you have to, you've gotten into grad school, you have to stay there. You have to stay, what if you lose time in your studies? What if you lose time and you don't get a job? What if you, whatever. And for me to say, hang on, the jobs will always be there. Like there will always be another job, but this is my first baby, and you never know. Is this my only kid? You don't know. So her first year will never come back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I stayed home, and I had a lot of pressure not to. And so there was that both stereotypes, because then when I went back to school after having her, there was a certain degree of like, I was a mommy, and I was mommy first before I was anything else. And I was like, I'm interviewing with the FBI, and I'm going home and breastfeeding. Like, this is fucked up.
But you make a good point about stereotyping when you talk about being a mom. I as a dad, I get the shit end of the stick because I'm the dad. Like I'm irrelevant. I'm the stereotypical dad that is just supposed to go to work. Don't get involved in the kid shit because the mom's got it. The mom's got it taken care of, especially because I have all daughters. So it's just, society thinks, and even my ex-wife and my kids think that I'm dad, I'm a male, so I'm on the outside. And that's where I belong.
I was the primary parent in our relationship for a long time, and I got sick in 2010 and almost died, like a week and a half in a coma, big bad shit. And my husband had to step up. Like, what is he going to do? At the time, we had a 10-year-old, a 5-year-old, and I almost died in the process of childbirth, so a newborn. And there's no choice here. What are you going to do? He has to step up. And everybody was so surprised, like, oh, he could handle this? And it's like, what? Of course he can handle this. I'm not an idiot. I didn't choose a schmuck to be married to, and he's not an idiot, And so, like, it was just this whole thing about, like, somehow dads can't do this. And it's like, well, they do if they have to. And while I still now, like, when shit hits our fan as a family, I'm sort of more in charge of the emotional stuff, and my husband is more in charge of like the practical shit. But at the end of the day, like last week, 2 weeks ago, there was a family health crisis, and I literally at 8:30 at night, I'm 3 days out of surgery, laying on the couch feeling like shit. And at 9 o'clock, I'm in my car driving west. And my husband just had to figure it out. Like, there's no, what are you going to do? And everybody was like, oh, is Willem okay with this? And I'm like, fuck him. Of course he's okay with this. And I'm okay dealing with shit out here. And it's what you have to do, but so there's this feeling of like, yeah. So somehow he can like pack their lunches maybe for a couple of days, but he can't actually make eye contact with them and speak with them. Yeah, it's this weird thing. Like dads have been totally devalued in our society, and it pisses me off. He's a better parent than I am.
That right there is right up Paycheck's alley. Paycheck is a divorced dad, and he's what he calls himself a co-parent. He's not a divorced dad. He's not a single parent. He's a co-parent. Mm-hmm. And I've heard stories of him getting the shit into the stick every single time. And, I can't relate to that because like we talked earlier, I've been married for almost 20 years. I've had, the enjoyment of, enjoying my family. He has had, transitions and changes and, a lot of other shit going on. And it makes you value me personally. Seeing his situation makes me personally value what I have at home, because in an instant it can change. And I'm fully capable of raising my 3 kids alone. My wife is fully capable of raising our 3 kids alone. But when you have to do it from a distance and from different households, it's a lot harder.
It's harder.
Because, go ahead.
Where I think that, and I'm going to try to tie this into the whole stereotyping. Society says that a mother is a nurturer and a father is a protector. Like, my job is security. Let's take it back to caveman days. My job is security and to provide meat. You know what I mean? And society still has those views to this day, not as barbaric as them.
It's there. It's about as barbaric, right? For sure.
So it's weird to me that, okay, I went to every doctor's visit with my ex-wife, with all 3 of my kids. I went to every single one of them. I didn't miss any of them. So why am I on the outside?
But you talk about stereotypes. You watch TV, right? And every other commercial on TV lately has been dad with kids, but dad fucks it up. Right? It's dad in the store doing something bumbling. That's supposed to be funny somehow, but that's really how our society looks at it. Is like, dad can't possibly handle this shit because mom always handles everything. And let me tell you what, as mom, fuck that. Because the implication there is that mom has to handle everything, and that's exhausting. Like, I can do the practical shit. I just don't wanna. My husband can do the emotional shit. He doesn't want to. But when we are both together, that's our roles. But if he's got to pick up the other side, he can.
Yeah, when it comes to the practical shit, I know how to wash clothes. I know how to wash dishes. I know how to cook dinner. I know how to clean. All that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I know how to go out and provide that meat and shelter at the same time. And my wife does too, but I enjoy being married. I enjoy the companionship, you know what I mean? And it's weird for me because whenever Paycheck talks about his situations, I can't relate at all. And I don't have anything to tell him, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't relate at all.
But that's because I'm trying to have an emotional relationship with my kids. You understand what I'm saying? So it's important for me to be in their lives more on an emotional level as opposed to a monetary level or as a provider. I provide and I work and I pay bills, but I want to be involved on an emotional level because unfortunately I married somebody or had kids with somebody who they didn't really think about life in general. You know what I mean? They didn't really have life experience. They weren't critical thinkers. They didn't think outside the box. So that's the part that I make sure that I put in their lives is the thinking part. Question everything. Question every damn body. You know what I mean? Don't get caught up in the bullshit that society puts on you. You're a female. You're this. You're that. Putting all these fucking labels on you. I think that's important information kids need to know. Because if they don't know that shit, they're just going to go along with following the fucking sheep in that little category that they've been put in.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and the other thing is, if you want an emotional role in your kids, especially, as they get into like beyond little one age, teenagers, write to them. Write it down.
It's funny that you say that because we have this thing. I've been picked on it actually. I have Snapchat, I have Instagram, and I have these things because of my kids. And that's I'm able to get on their level, find a format that I can communicate with them, and they'll respond. And that's Snapchat. So every day, every morning, I throw in little. Sometimes it's just a good morning, I love y'all. Sometimes it's remember that a bad day is only your reaction to all the shit that's going on around you. I try to feed them that emotional part, but society says that's not. You're a guy. You're not supposed to do that.
Right? Fuck society.
Yes.
I mean,
labels, titles.
All of it. But also I would say not just Snapchat and so on. Like that's how I communicate with my older two. My younger two don't have phones yet. And so, I mean, they're 8 and 6, the little ones. But my older two are 18 and 14. But also physically get a notebook and physically write it down. There's something very powerful to the written word, even if all you are writing down is good morning.
Yeah.
Because
right.
seeing your handwriting and seeing proof that you thought about them every day, even when you can't be there, like that's more powerful sometimes than physically being there.
You're absolutely right, because my punishment for them mostly, I have daughters. I don't spank them, but I make them write me a short essay on the importance of family.
Even if it's just, seeing your handwriting, that's something that you can't. When my grandmother died, and I don't know what her handwriting was like exactly. I don't remember. And that's the kind of connection that you have to somebody where you see it later and you're like, oh shit, that's what it looks like.
That's something to think about, Kate. I appreciate that.
And if I'm wrong, fine. You still wrote something to your kids, so that's fine.
Right. Yeah. It's never been put in those words before. That's a good way to put that, and a very, very good idea, actually.
Yeah, I don't do it all that often because my kids are here, and I have like an impacted ass full of kids on a daily basis. So I don't need, necessarily. But every so often, I pull those out, and I'm like, yeah, something. What I'm thinking about today, or just hey, you matter. Because you never know. Like, you never know when you lost your chance.
No, things can happen. Things can happen.
Just like that.
Yeah, I didn't even think of it like that. Just seeing a loved one that's passed on, their handwriting.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
It's a gift. You don't have any control over what they do with it. You can't make them absorb it or read it carefully or receive it in the way you want them to. Like, that's beyond you. But you're giving them something, and you give it with an open heart, and hopefully it matters to them.
Well, when we talk about society and those labels and all that stuff, who is society? Who is? Where does that come from? Where does the stereotyping and the labels and all? Where's the origins of that? Who does that? Who is society? Who's telling us that you're supposed to be this or you're supposed to be that?
Family first. Starts with family, and then how do you define family? Like for me, now I say it all the time to friends. I say it in my fucking Facebook group. I have a group for my own podcast about like, look, I love you. I love you guys. Loves, hi loves, whatever. Because I feel, so I've had a couple of near-death experiences, and afterwards I realized like there are people that didn't understand how much they mattered to me, and I would rather overstate it than understate it. And so I know I speak sort of more intensely rather than less. I would rather people think I felt more than less. And it makes people uncomfortable. And I'm like, you know what? That's okay. I'd rather you be uncomfortable because than you're thinking. But to me, family is, when you're a kid, family is what you survive. And when you're grown up, family is what you build. And,
wow.
It's so... I mean, it's a thing. And so I have absorbed family over time. I built the family that I need to build, but I care about what they think about me, and I think it doesn't matter. The more people you are around, the more that becomes society. Society is just clumps of people wherever you go. And the phrase that makes me like one of the phrases that makes me craziest is company manners. Right? Everybody's heard about company manners. Behave better for company.
Different at work.
Well, and you'll behave nicer for the person behind you in line at the grocery store than you will for your loved ones when you get home from the same fucking grocery store. Like, are you?
That's the problem I have with religion. That's the problem I have with organized religion right there.
It's insane. It's insane to me. And that is to me, but that is society. I care more about what strangers think about me than I do about what my loved ones think about me.
Well, I think that's a form of acceptance. Naturally, everybody has this need or want to be accepted. So I guess you would have to question your morals and your character and how far are you willing to bend to be accepted.
Yeah, and somehow we are more willing to bend for strangers than for people we know well.
Yeah. So do you have a phone voice? Kate, do you have a phone voice?
Of course I do. I'm talking to you right now on mic, right?
Red, ask to hear Red's phone voice.
Bring it, Red. Red.
I don't have.
Red, tell me how you talk on the phone.
I don't have a phone voice.
Yeah, sir, and thank you, and please, and
Dude,
Right.
Mine
My
is just a lot
southern
more
charm.
throaty.
It's my southern charm. When I order from Burger King. Welcome to Burger King. Can I take your order? Yes, ma'am. I'll have a number 7, no onions, add cheese and bacon.
See, you and me, we're on a level here, man.
Hold on. Your total is $8.53. Appreciate that, Sugar Britches.
Wow, yeah, it works. Yeah. You can't get away with it in Massachusetts, so.
My southern charm.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I call everybody sugar and darling and honey and, just me.
Well, I mean, I will say thank you when you hand me something, even if you're handing me a hand grenade. I'm like, oh, thanks. Like, I can't not. And it pisses me off because I'm like, I don't want this.
Right.
Yeah, when people hand me my card back, when I pay at Burger King, and I hand them my card, and then they hand it back, I say thank you. And I'm like, it's my fucking card.
But the same thing could be said about the first year of any relationship. You were on your best behavior. Maybe not a full year, but at least the first few months. Like, I dated a chick for months before she even found out I smoked cigarettes.
You know what? I met my husband when I was 16, so I don't even remember anymore. But yeah, it's that.
It's the honeymoon phase.
Yeah, and my gift, somewhat, especially that I've developed. I was telling Red that Tuesday is my 1-year anniversary for my podcast, and
congratulations.
Thank you.
Let them know how many downloads you got, Kate, real quick.
Well, I'm recording an Ask Me Anything episode tonight, which I do every 100,000. So tonight is 200,000.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's going well.
Did you plug all your stuff in the beginning of this?
Of course you did.
Okay.
Yeah, I can. I did UB podcast everywhere. But that early on, like, I didn't swear as much, and when I did, I almost not quite apologized for it, but I would like brace people for like, I'm about to drop an F-bomb on your ass kind of thing. And now I'm like, fuck, hi, how you doing? Like, I don't give a shit. So there's this comfort, even though, like, I don't know these people. They're still strangers to me, but I'm so used to the mic that I'm able to speak a lot more comfortably than I used to.
That's how we need to start the show from now on. Hey,
fuck hey,
what's up, y'all, motherfuckers?
Do it. It's a lot more fun for the rest of the show.
See, I started it. I started our first trial episode. I was like, hey, what's up, motherfuckers? But then I worried about what people think and
fuck them. That's what I'm saying. You worry about them because they're strangers. Don't make friends with the people out there. Make friends with your mic, and that's good enough.
Yeah, but I was worried about
stick googly eyes
off
on your microphone. Put googly eyes in your microphone. That's all you can control.
Yeah.
Everybody else out there, you can't control them. They're going to listen or they're not going to listen, and that's.
Fuck it.
Yeah.
Red, are we allowed to? Red's our HR department. Are we? I can just say fuck it.
Why not?
He said that on my show, so he can't say no on your show. That's not fair.
Yeah, why not? Fuck it.
You heard it from HR themselves.
Fuck it. Why not?
Well,
that's my clinical diagnosis. Yeah.
Well, I think because of the infancy of, we've only been doing this for a year. You can see we're still having a lot of technical problems. I'm having a lot of technical problems, audio problems. But in the very beginning, we wanted to be like we do normally, how we cuss at each other. What's up, motherfucker? But I was worried about the stereotyping. I know I have a southern drawl, So if I throw in, hey, y'all motherfuckers, how many people are going to listen to our podcast?
Okay, but listen, female, I have gotten shit for being a woman who swears too much. If I say the word cunt on my show, I'll get people like, oh, girls don't speak like that. And I'll be like, fuck y'all.
Whoa, wait a minute.
I can say it, I'm a girl. I broke him, look at that. Cool. There he is. Okay, there he is.
There we go. Yeah, so to wrap up and kind of put this whole episode in a nicely wrapped package. Kate, we appreciate you coming on. We enjoyed it thoroughly. It's been an enlightening experience. We wish to have you on again at a later date.
Please, for sure. Sometime when I don't have the time limit would be good.
Right.
Paycheck, I was saying, tonight I have my AMA because I let shit get out of my hands in terms of scheduling. I fucked up the scheduling a little bit, and so I have this Ask Me Anything happening tonight because my husband volunteered me. He's the one who compiles all of my questions and then asks them, and he's a math guy, so it's all in order or whatever. And he volunteered me back in, I think it was September, that I hit my 100,000 mark, and he's like, oh, we'll do this every 100,000. So here we are at 200,000, and he's like, let's do that again. And so this time it's going to be on Facebook live stream, and I'm very excited about that. But definitely, we'll get together again. Come on my show if you want. I talk about any damn thing,
Right. Well, again, we appreciate you.
Kate, thank you for coming on. I apologize. It's embarrassing. I'd like to have you back on.
For sure. Oh, there he goes. He's gone. He didn't really mean it.
You've been listening to the Conversations with Paycheck and Red podcast. Check out Paycheck and Red on Facebook at Paycheck and Red, Instagram at Paycheck and Red Podcast, and Twitter at Paycheck and Red. And don't forget, paycheckandred.com, where you can buy merch, you can subscribe to the podcast, and you can listen to the podcast.
Everybody has a story, and not all of those stories are clear black and white issues, even when we think they are. We wonder, how did this happen? Or what is that like? Or what happens next? Are you sure you really want to know? This is Ignorance Was Bliss at IWB Podcast.
Drama City Productions.
It's a podcast network that brings you several genres of podcasts: movie reviews, true crime, comedy, interviews, and much more. Visit DramaCityProductions.com to find all the amazing shows today. Find Drama City Productions on Twitter and Instagram at DCP Network, and stay in touch with the network and all the podcasts available. Big thanks to Ben, who runs the network, and his own podcast. DramaCityProductions.com, where podcasting lives.